Good afternoon, 49er faithful, and good evening. Welcome to the live member call-in show. It is the divisional round of the playoffs. The San Francisco 49ers obviously sending the Seattle Seahawks packing for the season. Man, that feels good. And next up on the docket, the next hated franchise, the Dallas Cowboys. Can the 49ers send them home as well? Does feel like one of the toughest matchups for the 49ers so far this season. However, the 49ers offense is cooking. Brock Purdy seems to be operating comfortably. Kyle Shanahan is calling phenomenal game plans, and the skill position players are absolutely crushing it. This is the live member call-in show. For any of you here in the chat, I want to thank you for being here first and foremost. Raphael 5629ers, Sneakerhead here on the channel coming in to say, what's up, Rob? Sneakerheads and everyone. The Stivers Niners 209 show. Rob, Giants and Niners in the NFC Championship game at Levi's Stadium. First time Giants and Niners at Candlestick Park. The score's 20-17. Giants win that game. It will be at Levi's. I like the prediction of, hey, a rematch of that, what was it, 2011 that was, the 2011 season. The Giants came in. If it weren't for the forward progress of Brandon Jacobs, I think the 49ers probably end up in the Super Bowl that year. Ellis10, Sneakerhead here on the channel coming in to say what's up to the Niner faithful. He says, hey, can we start a vote on Twitter? The winner of the 49ers Cowboy matchup is the true America's team. Let's get it going. Let us do it. All right, Quesadilla Thrilla, Sneakerhead here on the channel coming in to say what's up. Peter Lee says, hey, Rob, can't wait for the show today. You and me both. Sean951Niners is here. Bang, bang, Niner gang. We have got, let's see, Kevin coming in from Glasgow. Good evening, all. Wonder how many callers will break into a song tonight with their rendition of I Just Called to Say I Love You. Game prediction at the end of the show. Gold-blooded coming in. What's up, Rob? Good news for those who can't attend the game. No Cowboy pom-pom waving. Romo calling the game this time. That is a breath of fresh air not to have Romo talking about the Cowboys constantly in glowing terms. Truth told, not sold, says Rob. I hate the Cowboys. Let's go back to the NFC Championship game. I am hoping that's the case. I am hoping that the Niners end up in that NFC Championship game wherein they can rectify what ended up happening against the frickin' Rams last year. With no further ado, we are going to get into our caller. First one to the program, Korean 49er coming into the stream. Korean 49er, welcome to the stream. How are you doing this fine Thursday evening, my friend?
I'm good, Rob. How about yourself?
I'm doing very well. Excited for this weekend's matchup. A little bit nervous in that this is a high caliber team we're going up against in Dallas. They're a bit of a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde type of mentality, and they were honestly Dr. Jekyll in this last game and looked very formidable. What was your impression of that Cowboys game on Monday night against the Bucs? Was it more about how inefficient the Bucs looked, or were you impressed by Dallas?
A little more on the Bucs because I thought that Tom Brady's kind of showing his age a little bit. Not saying he can't play anymore, but
no, he clearly can anticipate the throw, and he's an intelligent dude. But physically speaking, I agree. And watching him slide around in the pocket, it does finally feel like his legs are catching up to his age, and that inability to elude defenders as they're coming in combination with not having a great offensive line this year, has definitely shown some weaknesses.
Yeah, so the one story I'm waiting for after the Super Bowl is, or two stories, is Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers hand in their retirements.
Oh, man, it's entirely possible that two of the best quarterbacks in the NFC are done after this season. It would be a bit unfortunate to lose some of that star power, some of that firepower in the NFC, but man, all the big arms are over there in the AFC, especially if those two hang it up this year.
Yeah, so at an old job, I had a friend who was, or at least a guy I talked with quite a bit. He worked at, I can't remember the name of the Air Force Base outside of Fort Worth when the Cowboys were winning all those Super Bowls. So he was, I believe he was at a restaurant where Jimmy Johnson and Jerry Jones had a big knockdown drag-out, verbal altercation. And this was when I believe Jimmy still titled his car at the time under Florida plates. And I think Jerry reported it to the Texas DOT. I'm like, man, that's pretty petty, actually.
That is extremely petty. That is a phenomenal petty move. That tops the list of pettiness in my book.
Yeah. So in the game on Sunday, I want to see how the offensive line limits Micah Parsons.
Okay.
Because I want to see, because my guess is they're going to put him over McGlinchey because they want him over the tackle who is not as talented.
Right. And that's an obvious difference, right? I mean, regardless of what you think of McGlinchey, whether you think it warrants the scrutiny that he's gotten over the years or not, there's zero debate about who is the far more efficient tackle.
Yeah, so I just want to see how, if they line Kittle up initially to help chip or at least slow down Parsons running towards the quarterback.
It would seem like they'll have to have some plan in place to limit Parsons. And unfortunately, quite often that does entail George Kittle staying into block, which limits his ability to run some of those deeper routes. Certainly, you would see Kyle Juszczyk being used in that scenario as well. It will be intriguing to watch how they match up against Micah Parsons. He is arguably the biggest piece for the 49ers to figure out going against that Dallas defense. If they can handle Micah Parsons, it feels as though they'll have a chance to put up those 35 points that they've been averaging lately.
Yeah. So we got to also see how the Cowboys offensive line is holding up, because they've had to move around a lot of pieces too. I mean, you have Tyron Smith playing right tackle instead of left tackle.
Yeah.
And they have a rookie.
Do you think that was
tackle.
a fluke that he looked as good as he did against Tampa? Do you think he will be able to hold up against Nick Bosa?
I think they may have to help him a little bit. I know Tyron Smith has had all the injuries over his career, and he's not where he once was. So, but I think it's still a good matchup for the 49ers.
I love it. LS10 saying, hey, Micah Parsons splits 60-40, so Kittle will eat. Love it. I want to bring in Gold-Blooded's comment here. Rob, what's your take on the Dallas radio host wishing injury on CMC? I think saying wishing injury might be a little hyperbole there. I listened to the clip in real time, and it struck me as one of those things that you say off the cuff, and then I hope regret it after it's said, right? Now that it's gotten all of this attention, I hope those couple of radio disc jockeys hear themselves and say, oh, yeah, that's a terrible thing to say. I will point out that wishing injury on anyone in the NFL is incredibly sad, right? I mean, this is a violent sport. You should never wish injury on anyone in the NFL. When they talk about it, they seem to be joking. They reference the hamstring. So I'm not going to hoist them up as evil individuals. I believe it's a mistake. I think they probably should come out and say as much. I do take offense to it, and I won't vilify those two individuals for having said that on live air. I understand how you can put your foot in your mouth at sometimes. What was your take on it?
I haven't heard it, so I won't speak to it.
That is fair. I like that. Absolutely like it. It's making the rounds on Twitter. What do you think is the key to the game for the 49ers? What do they need to do on offense to keep it rolling against Cowboys?
They got to limit their pass rush.
Limit the pass rush. That feels like the biggest key. If they do that, do you have faith that Brock will be able to distribute the ball to the playmakers and get all of the skill positions involved?
I believe so. And two more points before I let you go, Rob.
Yeah, absolutely.
You do remember ever hearing this when Bill Walsh retired after that Super Bowl in '89? That Eddie DeBartolo did want to bring in Jimmy Johnson as the follow-up coach. Did you ever remember hearing that?
I don't recall that rumor. Goodness gracious.
What could have been, we'll just say that.
That would have been incredible. Nothing against George Seifert, an incredible defensive mind, but Jimmy Johnson with that 49ers team could have been scary.
Yes. And a fun question to let you go on.
I like it. Bring it on.
Okay, since I live outside Chicago, which of these three movies is your favorite? These were at least partially filmed in Chicago or mostly filmed.
Okay, I know what one of them's going to be.
Ferris Bueller.
Yes, sir.
The second one is Blues Brothers.
Oh, goodness. That's a freaking great one as well.
And the third one is The Dark Knight, the one with Heath Ledger Joker.
Oh, with Heath Ledger. Man, if I've got to
They all
pick a
have
favorite,
they all have their qualities.
they do. If I've got to pick a favorite character out of any of those, surprisingly, it's not Ferris Bueller. It's actually Heath Ledger. I thought that he crushed that role. I mean, just unbelievable the way in which he leaned into being a psychotic individual like the Joker. But as far as warm, fuzzy memories, nothing holds a candle to Ferris Bueller. Man, that watching that as a child, watching that as a teenager, watching that as an adult, every time it gets me. Matthew Broderick, just a phenomenal actor in the 80s. I gotta pick Ferris Bueller. Which one would you pick of the three?
I'd probably say Dark Knight just because it has so many noteworthy quotes. You know,
it is so phenomenal. I mean, so good.
You remember Joker when he put that one guy on top of that stack of money, said, "I'm going to bring a better class of criminal to the city." You remember that?
Yes. It is all three. You can't make a wrong decision in those three. All phenomenal movies.
Because I remember this. One of my best buddy, he was dating a lady from Chicago at the time. They split up now, but she said she had a coworker come up to her and said, "Yeah, they're filming a movie out here." I'm like, "Well, what movie is that?" "Oh, this new Batman movie." And it was like right around the 2007 to 2008 time frame, give or take.
Man.
And I was like, yeah. And I hate the America's team moniker. Just win the Super Bowl and
I'm with you. Dallas is no longer America's team. America hates Dallas in a uniform passion, but I don't think they have a uniform love for the Dallas Cowboys. Not with Jerry Jones.
Yes. So I'll let you go, Rob. I think it'll be a reasonably close game. 27-23.
27-23 Niners. You have the same split as I do. That 4-point margin of victory is exactly how I have it shaking out as well, my friend. Always a pleasure talking to you.
Okay. Until next time, Rob.
Absolutely. All right. We are bringing in a couple of comments before we get to Sean 951 Niners right there below. PA Niner fan 87 says, "Is there a call-in link?" Yes. Let me put this in. This link will take you to the community tab, wherein if you are a sneakerhead on the channel, a member of the channel, you're able to find that link and call in. Truth Told Not Sold says, "Rob, is the mug still up for grabs?" It is. If you have not put in your score prediction for the upcoming game, the rules are as follows. You put in your score. It must be the only score prediction of that to finish, because we only have one mug to give away. And then you must show up to claim that prize and say, "Yes, I got the right score and I was the only one to do it," wherein I will go back through and double check that is the case. If you want your comment to be on as a topic for the show, make sure to put in @Rob before it, so that I know you're talking to me. Gold-Blooded agrees. Hey, Ferris Bueller, first movie I saw at the theater without parental supervision. That is a notable freaking movie to have seen. All right, we're going to get back into a couple of the comments. Got to celebrate PA Niner fan 87 as the newest sneakerhead here on the channel. He is going to find that link. I hope that you are calling in momentarily. Before right now, we are bringing in another sneakerhead, and that is Sean 951 Niners. Sean, how are you doing, my friend? This is the first time on since the last time you were on, when you were in that Tesla on the frickin' freeway, my friend.
Yeah, that is true. And I never made it home in that Tesla.
No, a little bit of a little spin out on the freeway. You just dropped off down below. I was like, his battery must have run out of juice. And then you're like, no, man, I was seeing the Tesla got spun out. I'm okay. So that was all that I was concerned about, making sure you were good. Did you have some whiplash when you woke up the next day?
Yeah, I'm still sore. We got hit. So we spun out and got smoked by an SUV in the fast lane. It spun us back around.
Man.
And yeah, it was pouring rain. It was terrible. And the worst part is I was only on the freeway there because my plane in New Orleans the night before got delayed 4 hours, put me in Phoenix when there was no more flights. So then I had to get the hotel and take a flight out the next day. They wanted me to fly into my original destination, but it was in the middle of the game. And I said, no can do. No can do.
Sorry, pal.
No, Niners number one, not happening. I said, I'll fly into Orange County and take an Uber. And that's
Yes.
what I had to deal with.
So into John Wayne, hopped in the Tesla, spun out on the freeway, made it home safe and sound. Still a little bit of worse for wear from it. But hey, I'm glad that you came out okay. What are your thoughts, man, on this big game coming up against Dallas? Do you agree that this is one of the toughest tests that the Niners have faced so far this season? Does it feel right to say that?
I mean, in the last 11 games, I would say yes, maybe. But to be honest, I don't believe this test for me is going to be any tougher than the Saints test with Andy Dalton.
Interesting.
Now Saints held us 13, it was 13-0. Now there was no Brock Purdy in that game.
Right.
But that type of opportunity for Dallas to try to slow us down, that's going to be their only chance, is to try to keep us low scoring. But I'm going to tell you, don't be, not you, like in general, people.
Right.
Watch film. Don't be so swayed by Monday night. Does people not realize Brock Purdy was up 28-0 on this team and then won 35-7 against the same Bucks team? I mean, guys, think about that. So they won 31-14 when Brady threw an interception in the touchdown. That's a guaranteed 3 points, maybe 7 points on the next play. That game could have been a 1 or 2 score game at the end with the Bucks. So don't watch ESPN and listen to all these ex-Cowboys that are commentators talking about Dak Prescott and this and that.
There are a lot of ex-Cowboys commentators, and they absolutely play up the Cowboys as the team to beat.
And this is one thing too, guys. Like literally, if you have time, go watch last year's game at the Cowboys. I know Jimmy was our quarterback,
right?
But keep in mind, do we all agree? Do we have a better defense this year than last year?
Absolutely.
Do we have a better offense than we did last year?
Yes, we do.
Do we have a quarterback with legitimate question marks based on how he's played, not based on future play?
No.
Okay, so if that's truth and fact, and Shanahan's in his bag, let's all admit
he
that.
He is absolutely cooking right now.
So if that's all fact, remember last year, guys, Dallas had the number 1 offense in the NFL. This is 2021, guys. Their first game was the game they played against us. And we literally went in there and held them to 7 points with 7 or 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter. They had the best offense in the league, guys. Dak Prescott just went to Washington a week ago, 6 points, pick sixes, and played the same way he's played the 4 weeks prior to that. I'm telling you right now, I'm telling you, 42-17 is my score. And the only reason I'm giving him 17 is because for some reason, Hufanga, who honestly, if you asked me 5 weeks ago, he's a first-team All-Pro. If you asked me at the end of the season, I don't even think he's a Pro Bowler. That dude or Charvarius Ward or one of them is going to get burnt again for a long TD because we see it every single game at least once. So I'll give you 7.
Yeah, we leave him out there a bit.
Yeah, I'll give you 7 there. Kick a field goal randomly, whatever, and you can get another sneaky 7. But outside of that, we're going to control the game, and our defense, I'm telling you guys, we're not losing to the Dallas Cowboys. They're not a great football team to me. They're very similar to the Vikings. I know they beat the heck out of the Vikings. Great. That was probably one of their best games of the year. But just mark my words on this. Don't get that Cowboys talk that you get around the nation. They are not that good of a football team. Remember last year, Micah Parsons was just as good last year as he was this year. He was the hyped up guy of the entire defense as a rookie. What was he in that game? Go and watch. The third play of the game when we ran a sweep to the right with Elijah Mitchell. Oh, Brandon Ayuk punked him, and the dude swung at Brandon Ayuk and never got called for the penalty. You never saw him the rest of the game. So Shanahan's going to take him, use his speed against him. He's going to do what he does every single time you've got somebody similar to what the Chiefs did to us when they beat us. It's going to be the same type of scenario. Dallas and I don't even see this being a close game. I would be absolutely shocked, and you can clown on me next week or after.
What kind of a split do you see happening in the run pass for the Niners? Is it going to be the Christian McCaffrey show? Are we going to be running at Micah Parsons consistently? Are we going to be broaching that 40 carry game, or will it be closer to that 50-50 split, a few more passes than runs, and let Brock Purdy continue to distribute the ball?
You're talking offensively or for McCaffrey?
Offensively, yeah.
I don't think it's going to be any different than what you see. Look what we're doing. We won 11 straight games, right? Look what we've done with Purdy.
Keep it
None
cooking.
of those games have been any different. If we do get heavier on one than the other, I don't think that's doing Brock Purdy the right service. I think that's a disservice to him, because in order for him to be able to stay as confident as he is, he needs to be in the flow of every game. And how do you get in the flow of every game? Score first, which we pretty much do in every single one of these games. Get a lead, start running the football, and let everything open up for our offense. The one thing that's been different lately is our defense has actually given up points in the first quarter. We're used to going up by 2 scores pretty quick, then 3 scores. Then we just beat the crap out of the team the rest of the game and let our defense eat. But that actually hasn't happened lately, which I'm actually a little bit happy about. Since that Raider game, I'm now like, well, what is Purdy really not seeing? He was behind in that game and had to come back.
Right.
He plays the same offense whether we're ahead or behind, because we know that we can throw screen passes for 30 yards, we can throw dump offs for 15 yards, and we can run for 10 or 15. Like, we literally have our whole team whole. There's no reason now, if we believe, which we've been talking about all year, even since preseason, without CMC, if our team's fully healthy, like you said, we should have number 1 defense. We should be a top 10 offense. Trey Lance at that time, I know, was a quarterback, but
right.
blah, blah, blah. Well, so now we have the quarterback who has proven to us is the best one on the roster. I say proven. Lance hasn't had enough time, and we know who Jimmy is. So if we have the best quarterback on our team is playing, both running backs are playing, all receivers are playing, our whole O-line is playing, like, what the hell excuse do we have to even lose to anybody the rest of the way? Because we weren't this healthy against Kansas City when we lost to them.
No, we were decimated against Kansas City.
So we either beat the hell out of everyone in front of us, or we're just not as good as we said we would be if we're at full strength, with adding CMC.
Man, I absolutely love that call out. When you look at, if this were a best of 7 series, I'd bet $1 million on the 49ers winning. No joke. No joke. And it's not. It's one and done. It's the NFL. That's the exciting thing about it, right? But we are the better roster, the more complete roster. If things go according to plan for both teams and both teams perform at their best, Niners should win, hands down.
It shouldn't even be close. It really should not even be close.
Peter Lee comes in to point out, he says, let's not forget Bosa didn't play the second half in the Cowboys wildcard game last season, which made it closer than expected. Bosa healthy, likely defensive player of the year. He's going to rattle Dak to dust. Do you think that we get to Dak multiple times in this one? Are we going to be able to rattle Dak a little bit, force him into some of those errant throws?
I think that's going to be up to what McCarthy does on his game plan, because McCarthy has a year of experience where we ended his season last year. So in my opinion, they're not going to 49ers Seattle tape. They're only going to go that for concepts. They're going to go to the 49ers Cowboys game because Shanahan was in a playoff game. DeMeco Ryans was the defensive coordinator. Like, there's a lot of similarities that can play into that to see how does he call a playoff game in this type of atmosphere, right? So for me, the only way Dak has a chance to be successful is if our interior D linemen do not stop Zeke and Pollard.
Right. That's the fear.
If they have success there, then that means that Warner, you got to look in depth on like how things happen in games. That means Warner and Greenlaw are running full speed ahead and putting their head and beating themselves up, trying to stop the run and keep these to 3 to 4 yard gains. That's not what allows our linebackers to play 100 miles an hour. When they play that way, that's when we start giving up sloppy chunk yards and don't know why we give up 3rd and 10s. It's the way it works, right? These guys come in healthy. They come in fast. Our D-line stuffs them on first down. Now it's second, and the whole playbook's open. Most of those end up into screens because we've pinned our ears back, and our linebackers are fast. Now it's 3rd and 9, where no one's tired. Then all of a sudden you get what happens? A check down, an out, boom, punt. Then our offense comes on. Like, that's how we snowball these teams. But if we don't have a good interior line this game to be able to stop those Zeke, or even if they're QB sneaks or off schedule plays up the middle, if we don't have contact at the line of scrimmage or 1 or 2 yards, that's where I can see Dak getting in that play action game, similar to how Geno hit Metcalf in that game. We're going to start singling the guys on the edges. That's when we start to get into trouble. But it's a lot easier said than done.
I agree that that's one potential way in which the Cowboys could actually take control of this game. Do you feel that the onus for the 49ers on stopping that falls on those D tackles, that is the critical point within this defense? stopping Dallas from being able to have everything available in their playbook by getting the run game going, opening up play action? Is it specifically on the D tackles? Is it primarily Armstead and Kinlaw who bear the brunt of this?
So I'm going to say no, and that's not contrary to what I said before. So
Sure.
I'm not putting it on individual people in those positions.
Yeah.
I'm putting this on the way Kasurik and D'Amico Ryans gather that group and tell them, hey, if you want our offense who averages 35 points a game to do the same thing to this defense, then we need to make sure that Pollard and those guys are trying to go outside where our linebackers are fastest, and that our guys in the middle are making sure that they are diverting everything away from the middle. Because if Warner and Greenlaw are sticking their head in there, you see Greenlaw, all of a sudden Greenlaw's down for 2 plays. Oh, all of a sudden Warner's sitting there on his knees in the Seattle's game, shaking his head, doing this. That's because Seattle was penetrating. And those guys have to come in 100 miles an hour into 300-pound people. Keep our missiles, our heat-seeking missiles, they say, right? Keep those guys heat-sinking. Don't have them coming up the middle. If that happens, you're just going to allow the game to be closer. And that's when we go, okay, well, now let's see what Brock has to do in a close game versus us doing against Seattle. The only reason the first half was like that was from what I just said, and it was a division game. We just know each other too well.
And they came out physically ready to play. Pete Carroll gets credit for preparing his teams to play above their weight class, right? They come in and swing as if they're a welterweight playing a heavyweight, and it was an even matchup, right? The talent disparity between those two teams was enormous, but for the first half, it didn't matter.
Yeah, I mean that, but I would also say those few chunk plays put them in a position to really get points. I mean,
yes.
If you go back and look at the whole season, even the Chiefs game, a lot of people think we got blown out in that game. They don't remember it was only a 6-point game in that fourth quarter, 3 minutes in, right? 29-23. Then it turned into a blowout because we're running all over the place, not knowing what's going on because we got out of character. But if you look at the rest of the way we play from first quarter, second quarter, and then adjusting at halftime, which is crucial. I think we're the best in the league at that. We can adjust in a close game because we're more talented than the other team that's trying to adjust to the more talented team. So then that's when we soar and take off usually in the third and fourth quarter. Because it's simple, right? It's like boxing matches. The guy that's the underdog normally puts up the great first round, second round, third round, fourth round. Then it's like, okay, here we go. This is where, this guy's going to sit there and take over. And then boom, he's KO'd in the ninth. So, but it didn't mean anything. It got you great. You played a great half and then you got smoked. So same thing here. I think Dallas is going to come in. They're going to have a funky game plan. It's not going to be hand the ball off, play action to Dak. I think they're going to have some crazy wrinkles to start it off to try to get a lead in some way, shape, or form.
Right.
And then at that point, again, I'm going to go back to referencing, guys. Either remember the games or go back and look. The hardest thing to do on our defense is to go from the 20 to the 20 and then from the 20 to the goal line. You can't do that on our defense. You'll never win that way. You have to have deep ball chunk plays, something funky down the sideline, a pass interference. Like you have to have these crazy chunk plays to get points. We rarely ever give up 3 straight first downs for a field goal. That just doesn't happen with our defense. It's too hard. We have an all pro at every level, right? So it's like
absolutely. On extended drives, we often make the play that stalls it out.
So think about it. If they're not getting chunk plays, then the only way they can get them is in the air. And at that point now, Dak needs time to do that. And then Gibson, who's playing great, right? Gibson's playing great. I see Dak getting in a position. Sorry, I'm sitting in my car here.
All good, my friend.
I see Dak being put in a position when he has to throw, and now it's going to start turning into pick city. I really feel like that because, at the end of the day, the pressure's on Dak and McCarthy, regardless. Like they're the ones who, they're tied up like this. So let's see how they handle under the pressure. Dak didn't know how to handle a 14-second play at the end of the game last year. So let's see this year if at 14 seconds, he's just shaking guys and hugging and saying, "Now see you next year."
Man, I'm looking forward to it. I agree that one of the things that most impresses me about this team, and there was a comment earlier that really speaks to it here. Coming in, Amateur Draft Scout says, I want the 49ers to slowly break down the Cowboys. That's what this team has been able to do to opponents. It is the number one defense, and this highly efficient offense breaking teams by the time we get into the second half, physically dominating them. By the end, these games open wide up. These teams are going into the next week and losing against opponents, or like Seattle, are sent home for the entire freaking season. That's, to me, what speaks to the talent on this roster is just give them enough time and we will separate from the opponent. That will take out all of the minor mistakes that could happen along the way. And it just gets to the point of, hey, let us play you long enough and the talent will rise to the top. And the 49ers have the most talent on their roster. It is a stupid amount of players at Pro Bowl levels.
Yeah, I mean, think about last year in the game. So we got the ball first. Okay, we methodically went down in 11 plays, and Mitchell hit the right side off the end, untouched touchdown, 7-0 49ers, right? And literally, you guys talked about Romo in the last thing, right? And what does Romo say? I'll never forget. It's like ingrained in my head. Well, Cowboy fans, that was way too easy. If it's going to be like that today, you're going to be some frustrated fans going home. And if we come out with that type of drive, I don't care what we do on the drive, but if we come out with that drive and just pop, bam, ram, pop, just 49er offense and put up 7, I'm telling you, that's it. Like there's 0% chance. I don't care. Cowboys don't have the ability to methodically do that. Everything they do is chunk play with Dak. Look at Dak on Monday night. Did he ever get touched? Was he ever pressured? He just stood back there all day long and just tossed the ball to whoever he wanted to. Well, guess what? So did Brock Purdy against that same team 5 weeks ago. Let's not forget that, right? So I'm telling you guys, there's no way, man. There's no way. There's nothing that they have on offense. Dude, 86 Schultz. Fred Warner's going to own him. Zeke is nothing but they pay him so much money, they give him 15 carries. He's a 2-yard back. Pollard, make him go to the outside and meet with Greenlaw and meet with Warner. Let's see if that's something he enjoys to do on a 5 or 10-yard kick. Let's just see if he wants to play that game. Because remember, this is true at Candlestick. Do we not play a tick faster in these playoff games on defense?
Yes, absolutely.
So let's see if they want to go onto another grass field from Tampa Bay to our field, and let's see if they really want to be in this football game. Because I know that the star on their helmet wants to be in the game. Jerry wants him in this game. But let's see if this team, who's never played a defense like ours this season, let's see if they want to play after about 30 minutes of football. Let's see if they really want to keep playing.
And still the same, 2 days of additional rest for the 49ers. Physical game coming up that absolutely matters going into this one. I'm going to be expecting a very violent game and a fun game to watch. I hope it turns out as you're suggesting, wherein I'm not having a heart attack the entire time. I predict it's going to be a bit closer, but I'm hoping that you are correct about this one, my friend.
So if you got to go to someone else next, I'll leave us on this, which is not our game.
Yes.
Bold prediction.
Prediction.
We will, just like 2019, we will host the NFC Championship next week.
Boom. The Giants are beating Philly and we are beating Dallas, and there will be a matchup in Levi's.
I'll give you 30 seconds why I'm saying this in case someone's like, oh, this guy's freaking crazy, man. Philly's amazing.
Hit me.
And I'm not going to use Jalen Hurts' injury in this either.
CJ Gray is always with you, but right here, he wants to know. He wants to know what's the reason. Give it to me.
Here's the main reason. Who did the Giants play in Week 17 on the road and lost?
Week 17 on the road, you got me.
Minnesota.
Yes. Oh, in that overtime comeback.
Who did the Giants play in Week 18 and lost by 6 points?
Again, refresh my memory. Dallas.
At Philadelphia.
Oh, at Philly.
So not only is it a division game, which we all know how tough, and we know each other, it's going to be tough. Those Giants just went to Minnesota 2 weeks prior, went back there and laid it on them. They just went to Philly, where Philly was playing for the number 1 seed, and Jalen Hurts was their quarterback. I don't care if he was running or not running. The Giants had no Saquon Barkley. The Giants had 3 of their main defensive guys out. You think right now they're not hungry to knock off the 2 teams they lost to in the last 2 games of the year to set them up and to keep this in mind too. It's the Eagles. That is their hatred rival in the division. They're right next to each other. If no one's been to New Jersey or Pennsylvania, they're like 40 minutes from each other. They're not that far.
No.
they're going to have they have that taste in their mouth from 2 weeks ago. Daniel Jones is playing well. Now, he won't play well against us. We'll smoke Jones, but I'm telling you, watch. I'm calling it, man. We're going to have a home game next week, and we're going to be at the NFC Championship at home.
Love it. I love that prediction, and I hope that that's absolutely the case because it would be a better road through Levi's than going out there to Pennsylvania, Philly. Oh, goodness gracious.
You know what's crazy about that, too? That would be since week 7. We would never have left the West Coast because that would
be wild.
The Super Bowl's in Arizona.
Arizona, baby. Man, I like the prediction.
I'm just saying. And remember, Arizona was our home for half the season in COVID.
Yes, we know that stadium. We're quite familiar with it.
I
love it.
Let's
Sean, I can't wait to talk about this game after it has happened to see who was closer in what transpires. I can't wait to talk about the NFC Championship game, my friend.
What's your score, bud? Sorry if I didn't hear. What's your score?
My score is 31-27.
So you're telling me that our defense, I don't care about the 31. I'm sorry, I should have done this before instead of taking up more than 7 minutes. You explained to me in like 2 sentences how they're getting 27 points. I'm just curious.
I think that absolutely they do get their run game going. I think McCarthy leans on old school football, and they keep this one closer than we would like it to be. The defense has been allowing over 4 yards of carry the last couple of games. You have 2 Pro Bowl caliber backs in there that I think both could get cooking. If McCarthy continues to lean on them and Dak has another clean game, even if it's tossing 1 pick in this, I see this as being a lot closer and quite honestly could get into garbage time wherein we're giving up a few of those points, right? I'm not convinced that it's going to be a 4-point lead at the beginning of the fourth quarter. It could be that we're up and it allows Dallas to come back into it.
So the last thing I'll say on that, who's a better running back, Pollard or Kenneth Walker III?
Ooh, that's tough.
Well, let's just say they're even. I
would probably list them as fairly even. I think in a couple of years, Kenneth Walker is going to be beyond Pollard. As of right now, I would say, that's a fairly even matchup.
Okay, so Walker had better stats, but let's just say they're even, right? So, yeah, they had 4 yards of carry, but do you know what they ended up with for the game yards?
Tell me.
If I'm not mistaken, I don't have the stats in front of me. Someone can blast me. I believe Seattle only ended up with 77 yards rushing.
Hey, that's what happens when you break teams in the second half.
And that's what happens when the 49ers offense is on the field for the majority of the football game. You don't have the ability to run the ball, which means you're losing. And if you're losing, that means you're passing. So that's what happens. We give up everything in the first quarter and a half, and then teams realize, shit, I can't keep doing this. This isn't working. This isn't sustainable. And then they end up having to go outside of their game plan, and that's when we eat. Rarely ever does Bosa get a sack in the first quarter.
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen. Because what do the teams do? They script the first 15. And what are the first 15? To stay away from their best players. It's just what
stay away from Bosa.
Then they realize Warner, Greenlaw, Huff, and the rest of the team is laying the hat. 37-17. I'm close. I said 42-17.
Yeah.
So I'm
bringing in reinforcements here. CJ Gray helping me out here. Dallas averages 32 a game, so 27 points for them is not far-fetched. I like it. Supporting evidence.
So then that's great. No problem, CJ. So you want to go and tell me what they averaged in 2021 going into the playoffs with the number 1 offense? Because
that feels like a hard one to pull right now.
But I recall them scoring 17 against us in that playoff game at home. So I'm pretty sure before that game, if we had this call, you'd be like, oh, hell no, they average 30 points a game. I'm sure a lot of teams average more points than per game than they play us.
Absolutely. And hey, we're only averaging giving up 16, right? So it's absolutely possible that we hold Dallas. Only time will tell, my friend.
Yeah, but I mean, we do every team. Like, we can talk about the Raiders. That's fine. I bet you that's an anomaly, but we still beat them. But if you look at all the rest of the games where our defense plays, we're methodical. It's like we're almost like the teacher and everyone's the student. We're like, yeah, come over here. Oh, cool, first down, no big deal. Oh, yeah, okay. Oh, you're at the 42? Screw that, lock it down. Bam, now you're punting. It's just the way we play defense. I'm telling you, pay attention to that. The only way that they're going to get points is on deep plays or PIs against Ward or PIs against Lenore. But I'm telling you, Lenore, he came back strong in that second half.
Huge.
Strong in that second half. I think he's progressing. I think Ward's getting lazy on his side. I'm hoping he comes back to where he was in the first 7 games.
It's going to be a bounce back game for sure.
You know, so I hope our number 7's better than their number 7. I think Diggs is number 7, right?
Yes, I dig it. All right. Hey, my friend, always good talking. I'm going to get down to the next one. We will wrap after this game to see who was right.
Sounds good, man. I appreciate you. Love you all, faithful. Good to be back.
Always a pleasure, Sean. Take care, my friend.
All right, you too. Bye-bye.
All right, later. All right, we are bringing in Bullpup to the stream. By the way, Jason D's like, hey, I hope this guy is right. I hope Sean is right as well. I don't want to be right about this being a close game. I want the Niners to absolutely destroy the Cowboys because that will make me feel that much better. NYCE 1030 says, hey, Dallas only put up 6 points against Washington, and they had a third-string quarterback. CJ Gray is with me. He says, I hope you're right, Sean. I do as well. All right, we're bringing in Bullpup to the stream. Bullpup, how are you doing? How are you feeling about the Niners going up against the dreaded Dallas Cowboys?
Rob, this is what it's all about.
It is. Niners, Cowboys, this is it.
Niners, Cowboys, Brock Purdy, the story of the year. We began the year saying it was going to be the year of the youth movement. Remember that?
Yes. A lot of doubts about that youth movement, right? A lot of question marks about Talanoa Hufanga, the offensive line. A lot of question marks.
Yeah, and who knew that Mr. Irrelevant would replace, the third overall pick and the second draft pick, and that guy who studied underneath Tom Brady was supposed to be the next thing. Comes in and he defeats Tom Brady. Guy comes in and he takes over cold off the bench.
Just
and he whoops
test
Miami.
after test after test.
Comeback win against the Raiders. Technically, comeback win against the Seahawks in a playoff game.
Technically.
I can't wait. I cannot wait to see the look on these guys when we take it to them, because football comes down to one thing, and that's whooping the guy across the field from you.
Yes, physically dominating your opponent across the line of scrimmage. That's why I have a lot of faith going into this one, because I look at position by position. I think the Niners have the more talented roster, and I think that's going to show up over 60 minutes on Sunday.
I mean, honestly, it could be a repeat of the Seattle game. It could be almost a dead ringer game.
Yes, it could absolutely. It could feel close at first, and you could see Dallas coming out. Again, I think if they get the run game going early, this game is going to be close. If we are able to stop the run and force them into situations where they have to pass, that's where this game gets out of hand in my mind. I don't imagine that's going to be the case, at least not through the first half. I believe we might be able to step on their throats in the second half and open this thing up, but I'm not counting on it.
I can definitely see. I don't look. This is the one game that I don't think we're going to come out flat.
Yeah, absolutely not. Can't, because we did a little bit against Seattle. And to me, you don't do that 2 weeks in a row. That's the lesson learned, is like, oh, maybe we did underestimate our opponent a little bit coming into this. We're not going to do so against Dallas, in particular, a Dallas team that just came off of a beatdown against Tampa Bay.
Oh yeah, no, this is not a game we're not going to be ready for. I can tell you that right now.
I'm with you on that.
We're going to be jacked, ready to go. We're going to hit the guy across the line. That's.
I love it. Let me bring in Kevin from Glasgow's Super Chat here. He's a sneakerhead here on the channel. He says, I think it's going to be either a winning run first half or a winning passing second half. I have faith a 2-score game is feasible, but 42-17 is rich for me. How do you think the 49ers lean into trying to beat Dallas? Is it a balanced offensive attack wherein Purdy is distributing the rock? It's close to a 50-50 breakdown. Christian McCaffrey's getting the bulk of the carries. How do you see this breaking down as far as the 49ers' plan of attack against the Dallas defense?
Again, going back to what I said earlier, I think it could be almost a carbon copy of the Seattle game minus the butterflies from Brock Purdy. In other words, we're going to use the pass to set up the run.
I like it.
It's going to be that short passing game, the quick, get it out, hit the slant, maybe even a deep shot or two just to loosen up the coverage.
Hey, we seem to be hitting those on a fairly regular basis. I mean, we're getting guys open on the deep shots.
So I would not be surprised if that's the game plan. But who knows? I mean, I'm not the coach, but I wouldn't be surprised if we go play action on first down, try to hit Debo a couple times.
Yeah.
Hit Ayuk.
Who do you think is the star of the game on the offensive side of the ball?
Purdy.
I like that. He is the John Stockton in this offense, right? He just needs to distribute the rock, and that oftentimes leads to pretty balanced stats for those around him and pretty phenomenal stats for the guy himself.
So let me ask you a question about Purdy since we're on him real quick. What do you think? Who is your comp? Who does he remind you of when you see him play?
That's interesting. I mean, I will say that I see shades of Drew Brees in him. It's hard for me to hearken back to early in Drew Brees' career when he was originally with San Diego at the time and referencing his quick escapability. But the way in which he moves around in the pocket, the way in which he keeps his eyes downfield, and the way in which he is able to equally distribute the rock to his various skill position players, yeah, it reminds me a great deal of Drew Brees.
That's interesting because everyone is like, oh, he's the next fill in the blank. Everyone's comparing him. Oh, he's the next Montana.
Sure.
He's a baby Mahomes. He is Drew Brees. I've heard that. I mean, he's getting a lot of comparisons. And there's another one. You ready for this one? I mean, you may or may not like it.
Ready.
In a good way. In a good way. I'm prefacing it with a good way. Kyler Murray.
Kyler Murray. That's intriguing.
Russell Wilson. Yeah, there's another one for everyone talks about him, comparing him to
the Russell Wilson is making its rounds in the comments for sure.
So,
I like Randall Riley. I'm old and remember a guy named Joe Montana.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, Joe, very similar way with Walsh, where he would run Walsh's offense, and if it wasn't for a couple of games, everybody was like saying, oh, he's just running Walsh's offense. That's the same critique of Brock is just running Kyle's offense.
It turns out that's a pretty important freaking thing to be able to do, is to run someone's offense.
I'm like, when I hear that, I'm like, okay, everybody's like, oh, these so-called experts, you hear on ESPN or YouTube or whatever. It's like, well, these guys are getting really open, and his percentage, is really high when they're hitting receivers wide open. I'm like, that's what you're supposed to do when you have receivers wide open.
Yes, it is.
It's like, come on, people. Give the kid a break.
I love it. I don't know. I'm with one of the comments that says, hey, no comparison needed. The dude is Brock Purdy. He's coming out and making a name for himself. What's going to be the biggest key in this game, and what's your prediction on how it ends up?
You're not going to like this one. I see Robbie Gould being our hero again.
Hey, I love solid gold, baby. Solid gold coming through in the clutch. He's perfect in the playoffs. Let's bring it.
Only because I don't want to put too much on Brock. Obviously, McCaffrey is going to be big. Juszczyk might have a play or two. Because one thing that you do, especially this late in the playoffs, this deep in the playoffs, is you scout yourself. You scout
Absolutely.
yourself, and then you see tendencies, and then you try to not reverse, but at least come up with new solutions to those tendencies that you were doing. And you saw it in the Seattle game. There were
Add
some
new
adjustments
wrinkles.
that were made. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely. How do you think this one turns out? Is it, if you're picking Robbie Gould to be the player of the game, I'm guessing you've got it close like I do.
Oh, yeah. Like a 33-30 kind of game.
33-30. I love it. I'm 31-27. You and I are in the same ballpark. We are going to be, as someone put here, is Purdy for real. We are going to be biting our nails in case of that one. We are definitely going to be sweating on that one.
It's going to be fun. This is what it's all about. Enjoy the sweat, enjoy the tears, enjoy the laughter.
Yes.
This is what it's all about.
Be present in the moment and appreciate what is happening right now, right here.
It's a Zen moment. I guarantee this will never happen again in our lifetime.
I love it, Bullpup. Thank you for bringing that to people's attention because it's so true. Being present in this moment and appreciative of this squad and this special run that has gotten to this point and what might transpire from here going forward. Man, it is always a pleasure talking Niners with you, my friend.
All right, Rob, you take care.
You too. I look forward to breaking it down after this game.
Sounds good.
All right, take care, Bullpup. All right, we are bringing in PA Niner Fan 87, the newest sneakerhead on the channel. And then Alan Elizer is our closer. He's taking us home tonight. PA Niner Fan 87, welcome to the stream. Appreciate your patience in being down there in the waiting room.
Hey,
let's talk Niners.
Hey, Rob, I love listening to all those gentlemen talk. They're so knowledgeable,
this is one of my favorite shows, just hearing people's opinions on why the Niners are going to do what they're going to do this weekend, man.
It's wild because you think I watch a game, and then I'll rewatch it and say, oh, I know this game. And then I hear someone like Sean talk and break it down. And you're like, oh, I didn't think about that, and, it's like, oh, that's great. Or Bullpup and the way he breaks it down too. I don't like how he says, like, oh, it's going to be close because those games take years off of my life.
Yes, they do.
Robbie Gould games do,
Right?
Those heartbreak kid games,
Absolutely, man. Those are the ones that cost me my hair.
I still got a little bit, but
maybe not after this weekend if it shakes out the way Bullpup is thinking.
Dude, I know. I feel it. So how this game's going to play out, right?
Yeah.
I try to think of it this way. How do we lose? Because I come from it backwards almost. Not how do we win? How can we lose this football game?
Because we should win. This team should dominate. I love that logic.
Correct. So how do we lose? So as far as the wideouts go, so the way we've been dominated is like a physical guy with kind of great hands. Like DK Metcalf. Dude's a physical freak.
Physical freak, no doubt. You rarely get that size speed combination.
So who on the Dallas Cowboys can dominate more that he got dominated like DK?
Julio? Do we have trouble with Julio Jones?
He's not the Julio.
Sorry, Julio's on Tampa. What am I thinking?
Yeah.
I would think our biggest problem as far as receivers go would be CeeDee Lamb, most likely.
And he's a lanky dude who can
not
get
a big
pushed
guy
around by a physical team. And as long as
Tarvarius Ward should be able to press him at the line of scrimmage quite easily.
Correct. Did you see those? Watching the game last week, I saw I almost felt bad for the guy because he looked like a normal sized human being trying to push on DK. And you're like, I know this is not a normal size, and Ward's a freak athlete as well. But you watch this man trying to guard DK, and you're like, I can't be mad at you, Ward, because dude, what can you do again? If he's having a game, he's gonna have a game.
Yeah.
We've witnessed it how many years? Right?
Absolutely. Unless you're willing to adjust the entire defense to stop that one man, if he is cooking, he's going to cook.
which we don't, because you're like, okay, let that one man score 28 on us. It's not
Right.
going to happen.
Not
You know?
not going to balance out what we're able
We
to
don't
do.
roll. So I was watching that game last week. We don't roll safeties over top, no matter what. So we're probably going to do the same thing. Do we think Dak has that touch to go over top like that and not throw a pick or several picks? Because that ball with Ward or even anybody has to be fairly perfect in stride to catch.
He's got
that.
such long arms, man. It's deceptive as far as his height because his wingspan is huge.
Yeah. So, I mean, something like that on the defensive side, I think about even with like, that's just on the secondary side. We're not even on the offensive or the defense front yet. So, like, I mean, so as far as that goes, wideouts, I mean, they got rid of Coop. I was more afraid of Coop than I ever was afraid of Lamb.
It's certainly more afraid of the 1-2 punch that you had in Cooper and Lamb.
At least you could dial in on somebody.
Right.
Correct? You know, you say Dalton Schultz, but he'll be tied up in the middle with the best linebackers in the NFL. I agree. I think anyway. You know,
and on occasion you'll get Jimmy Ward playing over top of him, who is also phenomenal in coverage. I agree that like you have great coverage linebackers and a great nickelback.
That's what I was more afraid of receiver wise last week than I was like the whole game. I was watching it at this one bar. I'm like, just don't let DK take off, please, because I've seen it too many times, you know. But then it snowballed and we were already done. You know, as soon as they did that Debo twist ankle thing, I'm like, oh, this game's over. When Kyle Shanahan goes out there and throwing elbows into Seahawk players, I'm like, you boys are done now.
Yeah, that was a mistake on your part.
Yeah. And even Debo even said, he's like, I can't believe Kyle did that. He's like, he's a boy. You know? But
God, that was fantastic. That just rallied everyone together and the mindset shifted.
You're 100% correct on that one, you know?
Man.
And I just hope it doesn't. I don't think it will take that because of the history. I think Kyle will impose like, hey, this is what we got going on this week. You know, this is who you were representing from the past. The Steve Youngs, the Joe Montanas, you know, that whole thing, you know? Right. So like especially on home turf, it's like we went away with a lesser team. Like most people have said, like our team was very talented, but obviously I think we're far beyond from last year's team.
Yeah, this year's squad compared to last year's squad, we have absolutely leveled up, especially on the defensive side of the ball and the skill position players on the offensive side of the ball. The addition of Christian McCaffrey, get the frick out of here, man.
That's what I mean. I didn't even get to the offensive side yet. I just feel like there's so much more gel on the defense, and plus Ward. It's like, oh man, and like Jimmy Ward moving to nickel, and like his knowledge of how things work, and like all right, you know, I agree with Sean. I don't think this game's going to be close.
You think it's going to spill out of control? You think our defense will be able to hold closer to our average points allowed per game and not Dallas's average points scored per game?
Correct. I think we'll be around that. I think we'll be under that 20, right? So we were under that 20 last week. Essentially, we brought in second and third string guys. You saw Ward, you saw Greenlaw, you saw all those boys on the sideline, biggest smiles, and then like Gino comes in and like puts a touchdown in with like a couple of minutes left in the fourth, right?
Yeah.
But
when you got Sam Womack out there, like you've subbed in everybody, third and fourth stringers.
So before that, we were sitting at 20 or 16 or 17 points.
Yeah,
still,
I thought for sure we were shutting them out in the second half. If not for that garbage time, we absolutely would have. Had we not subbed out our starters.
If it was regular season, the stars probably still be in there. We would have shut them out. So on the offensive side, what one guy didn't get involved last week?
The one guy that didn't get Kittle was definitely involved. Brandon Ayuk was involved.
Debo no. How many catches did Kittle actually have besides that 2-point conversion?
Not many.
I counted one, maybe two.
Oof. Man, that would not have been my recollection of it, but I'm
could
with
be
you.
wrong. I hope one of the commenters correct me, but I counted 1, maybe 2. I don't remember any.
I'm getting
Really?
into it myself. I'm looking back on it. So you think Kittle is due against this unit? Will he be held in to block Micah Parsons pretty frequently in this one? By the way, it is Kittle with 2 for 37. Yeah, not very many. I mean, honestly, besides Debo, Brandon Ayuk had 3, Jawan Jennings with 2, Kittle 2, Elijah Mitchell 2, Christian McCaffrey 2, Kyle Juszczyk 1. So other than Debo getting those 6 for 133, he was just spreading the ball around.
Does that sound like a quarterback? Wait, those numbers right there. If you didn't say Brock Purdy, if you just said those numbers, not the team, this, you would say that's like a 5 or 6 year vet, just spreading the ball around with whoever's on his team.
Yeah.
That sounds like a pro. It makes me smile so much, man.
A 4-year starter coming out of college, who knew that could have the type of effect that Brock Purdy just looks prepared? I mean, clearly it has to do with his mindset, his ability as well. But I think that 4-year starter that Bill Parcells used to hammer on all the time and guys he would draft, it's real, man. He's been in game time situations.
The dude's so Brock Purdy's mindset. Let's get into that real quick. Okay.
Yes.
So,
by the way, the chat is enjoying your first time contributions here. Just wanted to throw that in that you are gaining support in the chat. Please continue.
So let's go with the Purdy mindset, which has been resolved by the players and all that over and over and over. We always assumed okay, Kittle was always vocal about, hey, I love Jimmy. I love Jimmy. He was number 1 Jimmy fan, right? And so are the other guys. I mean, they're doing their part, correct?
Yeah.
So with this Brock Purdy kid, you even heard Trent backing him up. And Trent's a dude who doesn't mess around. Everybody knows.
He does not. His words carry weight.
Yes, everyone knows his story. He knows how life works. One of the greatest documentaries I watch is the Trent Williams documentary about his cancer thing.
Silverback.
Yes, sir. So there's a story. Debo brought it up. I don't know this week or past week, couple weeks, how Brock Purdy called a timeout out of nowhere. And that's not allowed in the Kyle Shanahan offense.
No.
You want to hear a funny story? You listen to, they interviewed Saleh, a couple other cats.
I want to say that was on Sean McVay's podcast with Peter Schrager, right? And they interviewed Saleh.
Yeah, you're right there, man. And Saleh's everyone saw Saleh. He looks like he's built he could be a linebacker in the NFL.
He looks like The Rock. Yeah,
100%. Yeah. And Saleh called a timeout in a game one time, and he got reamed out by little maybe wide receiver Kyle Shanahan. And so I was terrified.
He's a defensive coordinator. A D coordinator probably should be able to call a timeout if he needs to, right?
Situation dependent, right? Yeah. So this kid calls a timeout in the Kyle Shanahan system and no fear, and that's what Trent Williams brings up. He's this kid just if someone's in the huddle, they say he's yo, we're getting this done. Shut up. Listen to me. Here's how it's playing out.
That's huge with so many big personalities in that huddle.
Yep. That right there is and also, do you remember watching football games? Obviously, Rob, you do. Dumb question, but watching football games for the past couple years,
yes.
Right? Regular season, postseason. You see that quote unquote Jimmy pass. And it's and then all of a sudden you see 10 runs afterwards.
Yeah.
Guess what you don't see now? You see
Shanahan gets frustrated and then leans into the run. I know exactly what you're talking about with Jimmy.
Yeah. Guess what we did last week against a divisional foe that has kicked our quote unquote kicked our ass for a decade.
Yes. Painfully so.
he did not start out well. Purdy did not start out well.
He struggled.
But guess what he did? He's like, I know this kid. He's gonna get better. And guess what he did? He got dialed in, man.
Yes.
And Kyle's like, hey, just throw that deep pass, man. Throw that deep pass, dude.
Right.
Just do it. We never saw that with Jimmy. We never saw it, and it's
what I'm hearing from Kyle Shanahan makes me believe that what he's discovered in Purdy is almost the perfect combination for him, right? It's the right mentality. It's the right ability to operate within the offense. It's the fearlessness in the face of the blitz. You saw it in the very first game that he comes in against Miami, gets thrown in off the bench. What does Miami do? Hey, you got your third stringer in there. We're going to blitz the hell out of him and see how he reacts. He took multiple shots straight to the chest as he delivered strikes. And I know that matters to Kyle Shanahan. And I think that set the tone.
I hate hearing, like, I mean, like anybody here, I'm sure they listen to every other radio station or everything. Well, he's like just a Kyle Shanahan. They just look at the numbers. Oh, he's in Kyle Shanahan's offense. I'm like, bro, did you look at the passes? Did you look at like the 3 different reads he did to do that? Or he dodged a defensive end from this side or that side.
Right.
From his blind side, too. He has like a sixth sense. I swear, this young man has a sixth sense.
Great pocket awareness.
Oh, my. It has to be over 100. Like, Matt.
Right?
I haven't played
needs
Madden
to get his
over
space.
a decade. But it's like over 100, right? Like,
yeah.
Like, I'm like, because I'm watching the game last week. I'm like, oh, my God, go, go, go. And, like, he just runs. And, like, he never turned his head. I'm like, dude.
It's wild.
And unfortunately, I know Ayuk probably killed him. Like he didn't. He thought it over in his head, like that dime, that Purdy.
Oh,
that was
could have been so pretty.
That was the catch, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And but realistically, he did that 2 more times before that. Not as difficult a pass, but doing that little run around stuff. Once to Mitchell, once to CMC. And also, like, how, as Niner fans, over the past 10 years again, how many times have we watched that done against us? And we're like, why can't we get that quarterback?
Right.
Why can't we? I don't need a guy to throw a dime 40 yards. And that's the other thing I hate. Oh, if he throws it like a little bit deeper, it kind of hangs up there. I'm like, bro, I don't need a guy to throw 50 yards downfield. That's
not, at least not often.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't care if it hangs up a little bit. If he's tossing that pass, that's fine. Everything else from like 20 to 25, they're on point.
He's
they're
delivering.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So like, I just don't I get it and I don't get it because they're like, anyone who talks about it, it's like, well, he's 7th round. We got to like scrutinize him more. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know the scrutinization of this kid.
I feel we've seen quite a bit to this point, and I think it has shown us what we have. Not to say that there can't be regression, not to say that something couldn't transpire, but I think we have a large enough sample size to say pretty definitively that it's not a fluke what Brock Purdy is doing within this offense. He is going to continue to have success.
I'll leave you with this because you said you got one more guy. I love talking to you, by the way.
This has been phenomenal. One of the best first calls I've ever had.
It's a great show. Your other callers were amazing. I agree with more with that Sean guy. I think we win by 2 scores. But, the Niners, I thought that when we were playing the Raiders, and that was like a heart attack.
I know. I was there for that one, sitting 50-yard line in some MVP style experience, sweating, man. I was absolutely mortified because I needed that win, man. I needed that win. But to your point of like what that showed us about Brock Purdy, that gave us a glimpse again into the unflappable nature that he's been able to show to this point. He
literally watched like Mr. Clutch, Robbie Gould, miss a field goal.
Right.
That's the score.
I love Dustin Kohler, 75-10 Niners.
No, man, that's a basketball score. Anyway, he literally watched Robbie Gould do that. And like I thought it was, good as gold, right?
Yes.
And then he comes back in and just like, we're just going to drive downfield. I got this. You know, this kid, it's different. So I think the Niners win by 2 scores, be it 10-14, somewhere in that range. I think we hang 35 on the Cowboys at least. So that puts the Cowboys between low to mid 20s.
Man.
So,
I think that's a fantastic prediction. So you're putting in there somewhere around 34-20, 31-21, somewhere in that range.
Yeah. Yep. So I'll leave you with this real quick kind of comment or quote, if you want to put it this way. We all remember Mooch being the coach.
Absolutely.
Right?
Steve Mariucci.
So, he was a coach when Brady got drafted to the Patriots.
Yeah.
So a lot of people during this time said, oh, this kid, like, he might not have the talent, but he's got the heart. Booch's quote, why he didn't draft Tom Brady. He's like, I couldn't read heart. I can't judge heart. I don't know how that works. He's like, I missed on Tom Brady because I can't judge heart. There's I think it's on like a football, whatever. Look it up.
Yeah. I like that quote.
And I'm like, dude, that's immediately what I thought about watching Brock Purdy. I'm like, you can't judge heart, dude. It's just like, you watch his kid play and you're like, he will get it done. Like, you're like the replacements, like, go get me that ball.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Go get me that touchdown.
Man, I love it.
I talked all that much. I didn't even bring up Drake Greenlaw and Fred Warner and dude, this is I'm sorry. Real quick, Rob, how old are you?
I am 44, good sir.
I'll be 36 this year. This is, as far as talent wise, the most stacked Niner team I have ever watched in my fandom, I guess you could say.
It is, to me, it's hearkening back to the 94 team. It is.
I was trying to think
the 94 team.
I mean, real quick, that 94 team, number one wideout, obviously.
Jerry Rice.
Yeah. But we got 2 or 3 guys, that could maybe compare to that Jerry Rice. Also, we got the tight end. Also, we got not just CMC, we got Elijah Mitchell, we got Juice, we got our offensive line. It's just dude,
it's crazy.
Oh, I don't you look at it and it's weird because I looked at it at the beginning of the season. I'm like, we got a good squad. I think we could do a run here. When we got Purdy in and 3 weeks into Purdy, I'm like, oh my God, we have a squad.
Yeah, a legit squad.
And I'm just like, huh. I'm like, and then I'm like, a week after that, I'm like, are we spoiled? We've never been this spoiled, have we? It's because you said it 2 previous callers ago, Kyle's in his back. And I think Kyle likes it too.
Absolutely. He is cooking right now.
Has Kyle ever, even with Jimmy there, I've never seen, every now and then, but I've seen Kyle smile more at the podium in the past couple weeks than I've ever seen this man smile.
Yeah.
Probably because of the lack of injuries and just Purdy's I could trust this dude to sling it and just throw the ball, not think too much, just throw,
Trust and throw.
Correct.
I'm with you.
Sir.
I'm with you.
Correct. So
man,
I'm done. I took up too much of your time.
No,
man.
I hope that you will be back next week when we're breaking down this game.
Yeah, it's a late game. I'll probably be drinking all day. I don't know if I'm going to be on camera.
Well, we'll have a call-in show during next week. We absolutely will. Bisuka says this caller deserves a beer. Cheers, mate.
Hey, I got one here, boys.
Nice. Hey, cheers. Absolute pleasure talking to you, my friend.
Yes, sir. You too. And the show's awesome. All your commenters are great. And main thing is go Niners.
Go Niners. Phenomenal call.
By 2 scores.
I love the prediction. All right. Enjoy your evening and enjoy watching the game, my friend. Take care. All right, we are bringing in Alan, and then Alan, you got bumped as the closer because CJ Gray is now down there as well. So we're going to bring in CJ for a couple of minutes to close us out. Alan, how are you doing? Are you pumped for Sunday, my friend?
I am 100% pumped. I live in Tyler, Texas, which is 2 hours out of Dallas.
Oh, no, you're in enemy territory, Alan. This is phenomenal. Are you sporting Niner gear every chance that you get?
Yeah, at work they make us be in business.
They're like, no Niner gear, pal.
No gear, no sports gear, period.
Yeah, it's understandable. They got to do business.
Yeah, but that's okay. We talk about it in the office.
Nice.
I'm just being respectful because we never know until Sunday, until those zeros are on the clock, what's actually going to happen.
Amen. I believe that this is going to be a very tough matchup for the San Francisco 49ers. Even if we end up breaking this team eventually and opening up the score to where we do win by 2 possessions, I think it'll feel close for a lot of this. And a lot of that has to do with Dallas getting the run game going. If early on we stymie the run, I'm going to feel a hell of a lot better about this game. But my guess is that we see Pollard and Zeke eating up some yards and Dallas putting up some points.
Yeah, I can see that, but I think between Armstead and Kinlaw in there in the middle, I think we should be okay. I like that. I can see 2 to 3 yards a pop for them, especially at the beginning, but I think our defense is going to tucker them out.
I would absolutely love that. One of the pieces to our defense that people have been asking about, and I don't know the answer to this, will Drake Jackson be activated? Will he play on Sunday? I saw someone reference earlier that it looks as though he's trending towards that. I think we will have a more definitive answer tomorrow and clearly on Saturday as well when those designations are put out there. But we do need the entire defense out there. Thank God that we've gotten healthy at the right time. And thankfully, someone like Kinlaw, who's back in, is the added depth that we need there in the center of the defensive line.
Yeah, for sure. And as for Drake, it's hit or miss. It depends on if Kyle thinks that they're going to be passing more than running. That's what I've been hearing from Jack and from Jesse the most.
I think that makes a ton of sense, right? If you think that they're going to be dropping back to pass, then you want as many pass rushers available as possible, but you're going to be elevating one of those bigger bodies if your fear is Zeke and Pollard.
Oh, for sure. And I think Bosa is going to eat because he's going up against a rookie again, even though he didn't eat as much last week. But that guy'd seen him at least once, if not twice, in the previous 2 games. This guy's never seen Bosa in the NFL. So I think Bosa's going to eat, and I think, was he 60-40, the opposite of Parsons? Like,
nice.
Like he plays different. He plays more on the right side than the left.
Yeah. Where
Parsons plays more on the left and then on the right. So I think Bosa's going to show up. I think Amenahu is playing for that. He's playing for a bag.
A generation, like change the life of you, your family, and the next couple of generation type of a bag. He is supremely motivated to have these huge games, and it's going to be these playoff games that are most recent in all of those GMs' minds when they're out there thinking about that next high caliber edge rusher. I just don't know that we're going to be able to afford him to sign him back as much as I would love to.
If he has another game like he did against Seattle, another strip sack, and Bosa picking it up or whoever, he's going to get that bag, and he may price himself out of Parag Morante's price point.
I think that's entirely possible. I hope that with the money we'd be saving in the quarterback room, maybe Parag gets a wild hair and he says, I can spend a little bit, and we bring him back. But it doesn't seem likely. That feels like one of those pieces that was a brilliant move. The trade, 6th rounder, bringing him in, very cost-effective player, a talented player, getting him off of the Houston Texans, fleecing them by all apparent means. that is just how the Niners have operated. And I hope the loss of Rand Carthen, who I saw a great video today of him walking into the Titans organization, being greeted by a standing ovation. I wish him nothing but the best. I hope that we don't feel his loss in some of those quality moves that we make around the fringe of the roster, the later rounds of the drafts, some of those trades that we make for seemingly unknown players.
Oh, for sure. And I know Adam Pearce denied a couple interviews this past week. So I don't know.
My hope is they've already communicated to him that he is the next GM in line. As soon as John Lynch decides that he's moving into a different position or going back to the booth, that Adam Peters knows he's getting tapped on the shoulder.
Yeah, I think there's got to be some sort of internal deal going on. And even if that means giving Lynch a little bit of a title bump to do it, then by all means do it, because Lynch, since he's come in, I was one that really hated Trent Baalke and was really pissed when they fired Harbaugh instead of Baalke, because it was
you
Baalke's fault.
And me both.
So I'm always more on the coach's side than the GM, but this one, I'm like, as much as there's been a lot of talk about, hey, let's fire Lynch because the Niners start off the year slow. Well, the Niners started off the year slow 2 years in a row and have made the playoffs both years.
Yeah, and have made it at least to the divisional round in both of those years. That is something to be appreciated. That is something to be celebrated. Holding these teams together, the moves that they have made, the trade for Christian McCaffrey. Like, I get the fan frustration, how that gets amplified and irrational takes then get magnified even more. But to me, that was always craziness. In talking about a midseason move around John Lynch or Kyle Shanahan, both of those felt like insane moves in my mind. Now, had we continued on that trajectory and had a horrible season, you could change your mind on that. But the ability to turn around a season that is on the brink of disaster speaks to the ability to hold together a unit of men.
Oh, for sure. And we've done that, we even did that back during the Harbaugh years.
Yeah.
We lost Alex Smith, and then here comes Colin Kaepernick, first game starting against the Bears, and
lighten them up.
And then what was it, 150 yards in the divisional round against the Packers that he ran?
181, my friend, 181. I was there and took a kid to that game who it was his first game ever. Me, my dad, my brother, and a young gentleman that was a mentee brought him to his first NFL game. He got to watch Colin Kaepernick run for 181 yards. I was like, dude, you're never going to appreciate football the right way because you got spoiled. Your very first game was one of the ultimate playoff games. Amazing. So amazing.
Yeah, I took my nephew one year during the playoffs, but we weren't in the playoffs, but my sister got me field passes.
Nice.
So we actually got to go play on the field. I did. I took him to the house a couple times just for F's and giggles, and and I did a 90-yard run that Kaepernick did against the Chargers in one of those games. I was like,
hey, man, I'm going to be winded after 90 yards. I don't know if I'm making it to the end of that sprint, my friend.
Oh, I didn't sprint the whole way. He gave up about the 50-yard line.
I love it, man. Absolutely love it. Let me bring in this super chat. Edgardo Rodriguez coming in with the super chat. I'm calling a big man TD. Trent Williams. I will lose my shit if Trent Williams gets a big man TD in this one because of the fact that he was pointing and laughing at those Cowboys fans. He was asked about it this week. It would be a phenomenal tie-in. You could put up that TD against the image of him laughing. I will absolutely lose it if Edgardo is correct about this bold prediction coming into it. What's the key to this game for you, and how do you think it actually will turn out?
I think we're going to need to feed Debo and CMC out of the backfield, get Micah exhausted early.
So it's carries in your book. It is getting carries for Debo, maximum carries for CMC.
Yeah, starting with that. Or I've heard some bold ones. I'm hoping Kyle goes in the bag and maybe even starts just do a play action right off the top and blow the lid off the roof. And Debo, Kittle, pick one.
Open up that defense. I love that.
because we're going to be playing 8-man boxes.
We are. And I would suspect that on the other side of the ball, we may be doing the same to Dallas. Do you think that Dallas comes out? Mike McCarthy is old school. Is he going to be traditional old school dude? He knows that we know what he's trying to do, but he's going to do it anyway. Or is he going to be a little more new school and say, well, you think I'm going to zig, so I'm going to zag? Do the Dallas Cowboys potentially come out and give us a little taste of that medicine, leading into us playing the run and try to take the top off of our defense?
I would think they'd try it early, but just like I said last week with Lenore, I think Lenore and Ward, they're going to be in either man or close, 2-man zone, whatever, and they're just going to. I want to call at least one pick for each of them, because I think it's going to get to that point where Dax just has to throw the ball. Because my final score, I posted it last night. I'm saying 38-28 Niners.
38-28 Niners. I love the 10-point cushion. I think 38 is a healthy number to hang up on Dallas. I like that prediction.
And it's mostly because that's been our average, is above 35 a game with Brock.
Since we got in Purdy with CMC, I think it's 35 point something is the average per game. Just redonkulous, if you ask me.
Oh, yeah. I've had 4 beers a game for the last 11 games, and I'm just like, okay, how is this? I was like, when Jimmy left, I was like, our season's over.
Nope. No, it is not. The game has just begun, my friend. I am really looking forward to breaking this one down afterwards. Will you be back on when we're doing the show next week talking about this game, my friend?
Yeah, it's become tradition now. It's a weekly thing in Super Bowl or bust.
Amen to that. We are on our way, my friend. It is always a pleasure chatting with you, Alan. Sir.
You too. You have a great night. Enjoy the game.
Man, you too. Enjoy the game. Make sure that you're wearing all that gear that I know you have dialed in right now. We need you, my friend.
Oh, you got it. My wife's been wearing my Steve Young jersey the whole time too. So here we go.
God, I love it when wives get involved in the frickin' superstition as well. Tell her I appreciate her.
You just did, because she watches very often. So she might actually be watching right now, because I just heard her laugh.
That is fantastic, and I am thrilled.
Awesome. You have a great night.
Hey, you too, my friend. Take care. I'll see you soon.
Yeah, I'll be over there with you and Jack as soon as you guys go live.
Nice. Yes. In 3 minutes, we're going to go live. I'm just going to bring in CJ, say what's up, and then head over to Jack. Fantastic, Alan. Take care, my friend.
See you then.
All right. Yes, that is right. Coming up with Jack on his channel in just a moment. Ed coming in. Hey, Rob, remember that cold game at Lambeau this time last year? Absolutely. One of my favorite frickin' playoff memories in recent history. CJ, we are bringing you into the stream to say what's up. CJ, how you doing tonight, my friend?
What's up, Rob?
Hey, man, we got just a couple of minutes before I go over to Jack's channel, but I saw you pop in late. I had to bring you on, man. How do you see it? Sounds like in the chat, you see this a little closer to how I do, that this is going to be a closer matchup.
Actually, we're kind of on the same page with the Dallas score, but probably not our score. It's probably going to be surprising where I am. I'm leaning towards a 41-27.
Ooh, 41-27. So you do see a 2-score victory at the end.
Yeah, I do. I just listening to Sean earlier. He's talking blowout, and I don't want to disagree with the man. Just because I want the same thing. I would like to get to the point where get the lead early, so we don't have the anxiety going through the game, because it's much bigger than just a playoff game. It's being sent home for the season by the Cowboys. It's like 10 defeats in one. It's some of the worst stuff that you can have happen to you. I've had it happen 2 years in a row, in 92 and 93, and then having to take the walk of shame into school, and they just laugh at me and say, y'all lost. And it just gets back in my head about losing to these guys, man.
Oh, it brings back some horrific memories. That 94 game in January of 95 was Unbelievable. So many things went our way. It was such a phenomenal start to that game. I remember being there with my dad, just losing it in the stands.
Yeah, and that's the way I want this game to start because we jump on them early. I would like to get to see us come out, score, and then stop them, or actually more or less get a turnover in their territory and then score them again and be up 14-0 by with 5 minutes in the first quarter or something like that, and then really have our foot on their neck and then dictate to the style of play that they must play no matter what for the rest of the game just by virtue of doing that. I hope that Kellen Moore gets in love with the Dak Prescott stats from last week and say, man, my quarterback is cooking, man. Let's dial up 45 of these things this week. and then
just start dealing that ball and let's see Moody Ward pick one off. We'll get one to Jimmy. Yeah, that'd be fantastic.
And that's kind of what I'm hoping. I'm kind of hoping to happen in this game. I felt wary throughout the week about playing them just because of how our team is played defensively throughout for a good large sample size now about these mediocre quarterbacks making these plays on us. And now we got Dak Prescott, who is a notch above these guys that we've been playing. And we can't fool around. We have to give 60 minutes of football. It has to start off right in the beginning. We cannot go into halftime, not have played our best football because we can find ourselves down in this game and not go our way. But I just hope it follows the game plan of what Sean is saying. We haven't put together a complete football game. This seems like a very good time to do so. Dallas is talking stuff. Parsons is talking stuff.
A lot of stuff.
Man, he just won't shut up, man. I don't know if he learned anything.
He doesn't know that he's doing himself no favors.
It's not doing himself any favors. And I just want to, before you go, I called the Debo thing last week. We said he was MIA. I called him last week. I said he was coming for the playoffs, and he showed up big time.
Yes, he did.
And
you can't anger Debo. You cannot take Debo and kick him up a notch by twisting his ankle. That was just foolhardy on their part. He was already headed for a monster game. That just sealed the deal, my friend.
So pretty much expect 25 carries for Christian McCaffrey, like the division clincher game. Because Cal knows this is the big game. He knows that this is a tough opponent. He knows that he's got to overcome these guys, and he is going to lean on his best new weapon that he has. I got CMC anywhere from 150 to 200 all-purpose yards in this game.
I'm locking him in as my fantasy football player of the week for this weird fantasy playoff thing that I'm in. I'm absolutely choosing Christian McCaffrey. You can only choose him once, and I'm picking him right now in this matchup because I think he goes off.
Well, that's all I had, man. It's 10:02. I'm going to let you go in and get into Jack's
Yes, CJ, I had to come over and say what's up to you, man. I appreciate you coming on to be the last caller. I look forward to breaking it down again after this game and talking about the next one.
All right, man.
All right, my friend. Enjoy your evening and have a great time watching the game. And I hope that it ends up in Philly and I get to see you before that game.
Yeah, because if it's Philly, I'm there. I'm on the East Coast of North Carolina. So I'm
you and me both, my friend. All right. Take care, CJ.
All right, man.
Later, buddy. All right, fantastic. I'm headed over to Jack Hammer's channel, so go ahead and type that into YouTube. If you don't follow Jack, you should. I'm headed over there right now. This was a wonderful show. Thank you to everyone for calling in. I will attempt to get in another show prior to the pregame happening Sunday morning. But until then, keep an eye on Twitter or YouTube for notifications. Cheers, faithful.